Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is back on Capitol Hill for day 2 of his testimony before Congress. Now, he's technically there to discuss his department's budget, but he is also fielding and defending criticism from both sides of the aisle about how he's running the Pentagon. Listen to this exchange. This is between Hegseth and Republican Subcommittee Chairman Mitch McConnell about the war in Ukraine.
Who's the aggressor and who's the victim in the conflict?
Russia's the aggressor.
Which side do you want to win?
As we've said time and time again, this president is committed to peace in that conflict. Ultimately, peace serves our national interests, and we think the interest of both parties, even if that outcome will not be preferable to many in this room and many in our country.
NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Kube joins me now from Capitol Hill. Courtney, some interesting and albeit tense exchanges at times there on Capitol Hill, but I want to actually go back to Los Angeles because, of course, even though, you know, Hegseth is there to talk about budget, people have questions. What is Secretary Hegseth saying about the choice to deploy troops to L.A., again, despite orders from the governor, having no orders from the governor or the mayor?
Yeah, and Morgan, I mean, given the fact that the Pentagon hasn't put forward a full budget, it's really difficult to ask those questions. So it really only stands to reason that the secretary would be getting questions about everything else. Now, as far as the deployment of now more than 4,000 National Guard troops who are authorized to be part of this task force and these 700 active duty Marines, the Secretary of Defense was defiant in saying that everything that they are doing is lawful and that those troops, those soldiers and Marines are there to restore law and order. He was pressed on what about the civilian law enforcement that are there and already exist there. And he kept saying that the military is being used because those ICE agents and those federal officials have should have the ability to do their jobs safely. But one of the exchanges that really stood out here was specifically about whether these sorts of missions by the military could expand around the country. Here's what he had to say.
Are you prepared to authorize DHS to use drones and also to authorize military forces to detain or arrest American citizens?
Senator, every authorization we've provided the National Guard and the Marines in Los Angeles is under the authority of the President of the United States, is lawful and constitutional. They are assisting in defending law enforcement officers and law enforcement facilities.
So the answer is yes.
In the execution of their job.
The answer is yes.
In the city of Los Angeles.
Afterwards, senators saying that it's very concerning that this could expand. Morgan?
Courtney Kube, excellent reporting. Courtney, thank you so much for sharing it with us.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.